here again for the second time on the highways and hedges and two classic concourse. This is third bar up in Hawaii outside. And with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to and the Heavenly Father. His name is Yahawashi. And the Son of the begotten Son, by Hashem. His name is Mashiach Yahawashi. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrews, Ashma tongue. And I say Barak Thumb to the elders and apostles while I came my Aquaf and I say Shalom. Back out here again for the second time on the highway plus concourse on this July 21st, 2025 on this Monday afternoon. And the Wadi Yahawashi as always for giving us an opportunity chance to come out and do so. Lifting up the names of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, the Son, Mashiach Yahawashi, and the Wadi Yahawashi for that. And this is the book of that was the book of Matthew 24 and verse 6. As we've been seeing, that military exercise between Iran and Russia, and then you've been having nuclear talks between China, Russia, Iran as well too. This is Matthew 24 verse 6. It says, "You shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled for all these things, for first come to pass, but the end is not yet." Right. So these are modern day signs of wars and rumors of wars. We see in the Israel Defense Force talking about. I believe it's like the UK and 24 nations. They want to have what's they call it? They was calling for a immediate ceasefire because the tensions are heating up between, the resistance of the Palestinians going against the Israel Defense Force. Now you have the Israel Defense Force use a campaign an airstrike over that area. Matthew 24 verse 6. It says, "You should hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled for all these things, much first come to pass, but then it's not yet." Right, so that's what we see in modern day wars and rumors of wars. Matthew 24 verse 7. It says, "The nations shall rise against nation." Right, that's what we see in the Iranian people going against the Israel Defense Force. We see in the resistance of the Palestinians going against the Israel Defense Force. We see in the Houthi rebels going against the Israel Defense Force. And these are signs of wars and rumors of wars and nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. It says, "For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom." It says, "There shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes and other places." Right, so increasing nation against nation, increasing famines and pestilence and earthquakes and other places. And that's what we see in these high magnitude of earthquakes and other places. These increasing of nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And that's only going to continue to increase. And this is the book of the book of Jeremiah, chapter 28, verse 8. So even if they do call for any immediate ceasefire over there in the Gaza Strip, even though those tensions are heating up once again, because you have the Israel Defense Force use a heavy airstrike over there in the area, and then you had the I forgot his name. His name is called Katz or something like that, because he represents the Israel Defense Force over there in Israel. He was mentioned about the Houthi rebels. They're gonna get a surprise attack, just like the Israel Defense. Just like Iran. Just like back in June, they got unexpected got hit with those airstrikes. From the Israel Defense Force and target Iran. So. You had this Israel Katz from the Israel Defense Force. He mentioned that once again that the Houthi rebels, which is a pro-Iranian group, he said he used a surprise. He's potentially saying they're going to have the same fate, just like the Iranians. They got hit with that airstrike back in June. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 28, verse 8. So these are increasing significant signs of wars and rumors of wars. Jeremiah chapter 28 verse 8, it says, "The prophets I have before thee and before thee of old prophesy both against many countries and great kingdoms of war, evil, and pestilence." And that's what we out here prophesying about: war, evil, and pestilence. Because these war, evil, and pestilence are going to continue to increase, despite the fact they're trying to call for any immediate ceasefire over in the Gaza Strip, which that been happening countless of times. As the UK and these 24 nations of allies calling for an immediate ceasefire because the tensions are heating up over there in the Gaza Strip. As once again, you had earlier today, you had the Israel Defense Force use a heavy airstrike over there in the Gaza Strip, targeting those Hamas groups, targeting those resistant Palestinian groups, and targeting those pro-Iranian groups. So these tensions between the Israel Defense Force and the resistance of the Palestinians and Hamas, that's only going to heat up. Just like I mentioned just a minute ago, you had the representations of it. His name Katz from the Israel Defense Force said he's the Houthi rebels. They're going to get a surprise attack, and they're going to get a same results that they strike the pro-Iran, Iran, So Israel, the Israel defense was saying the Houthi rebels, they're gonna get the same fate just like the Iranians did, but they got hit with that surprise attack. So these are signs of wars, the rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, despite the fact they're trying to have ceasefires, trying to de-escalate tensions, because the tensions are still going to be there between these nations. This is the book of Jeremiah 28, verse 8. It says, the prophets I have before thee and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and great kingdoms of war, evil, and a pestilence. And that's what we're seeing, war, evil, and a pestilence. This is Jeremiah 28, verse 9. It says, the prophet which prophesied of peace, with the word of the prophet shall come to pass. Then shall the prophet be known that Yahawashi was sent. Like these prophecies going to come to pass in the field. We're seeing signs of them. And this is Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 46. It says, least your heart faint, the fear for the Lord that should be heard in the land. And a woman should come both 1 year after that, another year should come a woman land, boss the land, rule against rule. And that's what we're seeing, modern rule against modern rule. And this is the book of Matthew 24 and verse 7. It says, nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. That's what we're saying, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. It says, you should hear of wars and rumors of wars, right? Modern day wars and rumors of wars. It says, see that you be not trouble for all these things, must first come to pass, but it is not yet. Right, it's going to come to pass, but not going to get just yet. And modern day nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, which goes to ethnos. It says Matthew 24 and verse 8, all these are the beginning of sorrows. Right, so all these biblical signs that Yahawashi is showing us is just the beginning of sorrows that we continue to see increasing our world today. And this is the book of, the book of Joel, the 3rd chapter. This is the prophet Joel, Salakia. This is the prophet Joel, chapter 3, verse 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, right, the armies of other nations. It says, prepare war, wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near that come up. That's why we see the recent military exercise between Russia and Iran is going to come up this Monday, which is today. And then you had the alliance between China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea going against the Western countries, despite the fact they've been having talks with one another and having deals with one another. But that's only going to seem to increase. But these alliances between China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea going against the Western countries. So they have built up their economic alliance and military alliance as well too, of China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. So that shows you that we're going to have more military exercise drills, just like the military exercise drills between China and Vietnam, and military exercise drills between Taiwan. They just had for the last 10 days. That lasted for a whole week. And then you've been having large military exercise drills from the United States over there in the Panama area over there. So these are significant signs that the Heavenly Father is putting that warlike mindset of these armies of nations. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, right, the armies of the other nations, prepare war. Wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up right over there in Western Asia. Armageddon, Armageddon 1, Valley of Jehoshaphat, Yahawashi. Joel chapter 3, verse 10. Right, so what we seen was taking place over there in the Korean Peninsula. We see it in North Korea versus South Korea, Japan, and the United States, that's heating up. We see what's taking place down in the South China Sea. We see in China versus Taiwan, that's heating up. We see it in China versus the Philippines, over there in the Speaker Territorial Island, that's heating up. So these are significant signs of wars and moments of wars. Matthew 24 chapter. This is the book of Joel, chapter 10, verse 10. It says, Greeks and plowshares and swords, and some pointing into spears, and let the Greeks sound strong. Right, let the Greeks sound strong with these armies of nations. So you're going to have Iran building up their capability once again. You're going to have North Korea building up their capability, all these other nations that got nuclear capability. This is the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 11. It says, assemble yourselves and come, all you heathen. Yep, it says, assemble yourselves and all you heathen, right, the armies of the other nations, and gather yourselves together round about thither to cause our mighty ones to come down with Yahweh. It's the prophet Joel, chapter 3, verse 12. It says, let all the heathen, let the heathen be awakened and come up into the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there I will sit and judge all the heathen round about. For I said, Heavenly Father, will sit and judge all the armies of the nations round about. Joel, chapter 10, verse 13. Put ye in the sick for the hearts. Come and eat the down and press on the floor for them. This is great. Joel 3, verse 14, it says, multitudes and the multitudes in the valley of decision. From the dead, I was dead by decision. So the dead that had fought against valley of decision versus Armageddon and Armageddon 1. Just like it says in Revelation 7, verse 14, the second won't pass, but the third will come quickly. And Father God, watch me shine. Hey. It says, feedback fuels me. If you like the sound, that the sub, let me know. and at what hits and what I can do better. And this is the book of Joel, chapter 3, and you have to leave it at that. Bring out that Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes. You have this book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 8. It says, in times of love, in time of HATE, in time of war, time of peace. Right, so we live in a time of love. We never live in a time of war. That's all the continues to increase. Yeah, Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1. The book of Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1. It says, to everything there is a season and a time for purpose heaven. Why? So when there is a time, season, and purpose heaven, which is modern day biblical science and science of times. This is the book of St. Mark. Yeah, St. Mark, the 3rd chapter. We got to the book of St. Mark, chapter 3, and verse 23. It says, he called them unto them and say in their parable, as the Satan cast out Satan. St. Mark 3, verse 24. And if a kingdom be divided into 7, the kingdom cannot stand. Right, so if a kingdom be divided into 7, the kingdom cannot stand, especially with these economical powerhouses, these economical terror wars, these trade wars, and economic wars, and nuclear estimates and tensions, all of those categories. And that's what we're seeing among the nations, among the kingdoms as well, too. This is St. Mark chapter 3, verse 25. It says, if a house be divided into 7, has to understand. Right, so if a house be divided into 7, has to understand. St. Mark 3, verse 26. And if Satan rises against the 7, be divided, understand, and have the end. That's what we're saying. Why Yahawashi. This is the book of Luke, and verse 51.
Hello,
Moto. Yeah, I'm gonna have to close out a little early. Had to answer the prayer. So with that, I was out here for the so I'm out here for like the second, third time, and why did I wash my shot for that? So with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to. And Heavenly Father, in the name of Yahawashi, and His only got Son, by Hashem, the name of Mashak Kamshah. Those are the true names of the ancient Hebrew and Hebrew, the lost word, the lost tongue. I say, we're going to them to the elders and apostles of Akima Akwa. Until next time, we say, Kwon Shalom and Shalom.